Hi, it has been a while since I have done a video like this where I've just sat down to chat, but yes, it's been a while, and yeah. So today in this video, I want to talk about a few books that I have read over the summer over the summer, and few books. Okay, I have read these two as well. Okay, and few books that I plan on reading for entertainment purpose and also for my research. So yeah, so I'm rereading Jhumpa Lahiri's Interpreter of Malades. This has great short stories that are written by Jhumpa Lahiri. She's one of my favorite writers, and her stories deal with loss. Her stories deal with themes of home, feelings of alienation. One of my favorite stories here is A Real Durban. It's a story about this woman, an old woman who is a sweeper and a gatekeeper in a building, in an apartment complex in Kolkata. So yeah, this is one of my favorite writings ever. I like Jhumpa Lahiri. Then this is an Assamese book that I was reading for research purpose by Mamoni Roysum Goswami. Actually, I was interested in this story here called Udoy Bhanu's Soritra Ityadi. So it's about this guy. So the story deals with a lot of issues, like it's set in the 1980s Assam, India, and it talks about, it's a troubled time in Assam politically, but this story particularly talks about this man who is dealing with mental health issues, alcoholism, and there's also a queer representation of bisexuality, not in a very positive light, but it's commendable for Mamoni Roysum Goswami to have written something about sexuality, especially bisexuality, in 1986. So yeah, this I've just read for research purpose. Then the next book here is called Late Bloomers by Deepa Varadarajan. I actually picked it up because this is written by a professor at my university, and so Deepa Varadarajan actually is a professor in the law in the law department in the law school. So yeah, it was quite interesting. This is a story about a couple who an Indian American couple who separate in their late 50s or early 60s, and they're trying to figure out their lives, while the story also talks about their grown-up children's life, who are adults and they have their own lives. So each chapter is divided into a voice of each of the characters. So yeah, this book talks about love, loss, dealing with separation, and then trying to find a new life after divorce. So yeah, quite an interesting read. I did attend a talk by the author at our university, and that was quite fun. And yeah, Deepa Varadarajan has tried to keep all the voices of each characters, the four main characters, very distinct in this novel. But for some reason, I felt that they were kind of not very distinct in some parts. It felt like that their voices were kind of submerging in some parts. So that's just how I felt. The next book is The Virgin Suicides. I picked this book up at Heathrow Airport. I shouldn't have. I don't know why I spent that much money on this book. It's by Jeffrey Eugenides. I don't know. I don't think I'm pronouncing it correctly, but this book, it was also turned it into a movie, I think in the early 2000s. I don't know. This, to be honest, this was depressive. I mean, it was depressing. It was a depressing read. I did not personally enjoy reading this book, but yeah. So this book talks about. I could not figure out who the narrator of this novel was. It was a person from outside. So this story is about these 5 or 6, I think 5 sisters, 5 teenage sisters who haven't even turned 18. They are these high school girls, and it's about their cocooned life in this household, which is very mysterious to the outside world. They're very pretty, and everybody wants to know what goes on inside this household. And then the youngest sister of the 5 girls tries to commit suicide, and then she does commit suicide, and then it becomes talk of the town. They're in a small town in the US, and yeah, so I don't know. At some parts, it felt like that. Okay, maybe the narrator is a teenage boy who is very intrigued by these girls who live there. Everybody in the town is intrigued, especially teenage boys in the school. And yeah, and at the end, I mean, I don't want to. Yeah, I don't think I should be giving spoilers, but yeah, I will not recommend this book if somebody is sad or depressed already, because it deals with a lot of serious issues about mental health, about family dynamics, about parent-children relationship. Yeah, this is that. And another book I picked up at the Heathrow Airport this time was Confessions of a 40-something F up. So this book was light. I wanted to read something, yeah, because I read a lot of serious books already for my classes and for my research, so I wanted to read something light, so I picked this book up. And this is a chick flick, if you would like to call it. This book talks about, it is exactly about a 40-year-old person whose engagement just broke up, and then she's dealing with a crisis in her life. It's also about her trying to find herself in her 40s, and how difficult it can be for a woman who's lost her job, who's lost the love of her life, and so yeah, and how she's sort of getting back at life, and yeah, and how, yes, there were a lot of places in this book where I felt I connected to this, although I'm not 40 years old yet. But there were instances where she was talking about how the lives of her friends were very much different. They were married, they had kids, and their problems in life were very different from her, who was single, who had lost her job, and who's sort of starting over again. So this was a light read that I really enjoyed. Yeah. The next one I read this summer, this is a collection of essays by James Baldwin. It's called Notes of a Native Son. Baldwin talks about, in this book, he talks about issues of race in the US. He talks about racism. He talks about his relationship with his father, his stepfather, his relationship with his country. He moves to Paris early on in his life, actually, and he also talks about his life in Paris. There's this very fascinating yet weird yet shocking incident of how he was arrested in Paris for having stolen a bed sheet from a hotel. Yeah, so yes, that was a very interesting, and theft of a bed sheet and you get imprisoned for months. So yeah, he talks about these things. It's an essay plus also sort of a memoir. I really enjoyed reading this. Yeah, I enjoy Baldwin's writings, so yeah, this was an interesting read. Okay, and then finally I read this book by Janice Barrett. It's called Everything the Light Touches. So this novel is set in many locations all over the world and many time frames, but the main I think crux of this novel, it talks about plants. It talks a lot about plants. It is about plants, and life, and it touches upon stuff like colonization. It touches upon yeah, stuff. Yeah, I don't know. Actually talks. It deals with a lot of issues. Personally, I mean, this was okay, but for some reason I couldn't connect to it on some level, and I took a long time to read this book. I took 4 months to read this book, because yeah, I mean, I like Janice Barrett's writing, and this is her latest book. So yes, and yeah, it talks about plant world. It talks about being a woman in science. It talks about the uranium, the issue of uranium extraction in Meghalaya, in Shillong. These very serious environmental issues. Yes, so there's a lot to unpack in this novel. Issues of feminism, issues of colonization, issues regarding the environment. Yeah, I mean, the researcher in me wants to like dig up stuff and talk about ecofeminism through the lens of ecofeminism in this book. So yeah, quite an interesting read, but yeah, so I didn't find it very very catchy. I don't know. But yeah, another book I read this summer was also Yellowface. That book is like on every newspaper, so, and all social media platforms, so I had to read it. But I read the e-version of that book. Yellowface is a thriller and it's extremely engaging, at least the first half of the book. The middle of the book seems a little stretchy, and then the ending, I was not satisfied with it personally. Yellowface is written by Rebecca Kwong, and yeah, so these are some of the books that I read over the summer, and yeah, there are books that I want to read over the winter, over autumn, and yeah, this is the first time I'm talking to the camera after a really long time, months, years actually. So yeah, I have started doing a different kind of videos in this channel. So yeah, I hope you like this video of me updating you on what I'm reading currently. This is a mixed bag of books. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. Bye.